Welcome, welcome. Today we are talking about being easily distracted while writing. And if you write, you'll probably fall under the category of easily distracted, because we all are. I'm Morgan Gist McDonald. I'm a writing coach, editor, and author, and I run my blog and business out of paperravenbooks.com. And just so you know, if you have to hop off the scope real quick, there is a special page where I take notes for you, and I post the replays and the transcripts, so you can always stay caught up. Let me flip you around so you can see that address real quick. If it'll focus, paperravenbooks.com/periscope. I don't know why it's not focusing. Come on, little guy. I bet that shiny tape is throwing it off. paperravenbooks.com/periscope. So, let's dive in. Distractions. If you are anything like me, every time you sit down to write, thoughts just like stream through your head, almost like you can't even control them. It's like suddenly you're thinking, dang it, my coffee's cold, I want fresh coffee. The text message dings and you wonder who it is, and then the little Periscope whistle goes off and you're like, ooh, who's broadcasting right now? And then you're like, I kind of need to use the restroom. And then you're like, it's cold in here, let me turn down the thermostat. I mean, like all these thoughts about things that feel suddenly very urgent and kind of want to pull you away from your writing. And this is totally normal. I think every writer experiences this, and you shouldn't take it as a sign that like you're not quote unquote good at writing. It just is a part of our human condition that we are easily distracted. And so what I want to kind of outline for you today are some really good tried and true ways, and maybe a few ways you haven't tried before, to help curb that distraction. So people talk a lot about how to get motivated to write, but my concern for you today is that once you are motivated to write and you do actually sit down, how do you stay in that space? How do you protect that bubble of motivation? Because motivation is so precious, right? I mean, as writers, when we have that... Sorry, I'm using my mic equipment, which I don't usually do because tomorrow I have a webinar, and so I was like, well, I'll try this out. Can you still hear me? Okay, thanks. All right, thanks for the hearts. Lets me know you're still there. Oh, by the way, if you're new, tap the screen for hearts if something resonates with you. That way I know that it's valuable for you, and I can craft content around you and your needs. And if you like to talk about writing, hit little Perry Buddy down there and change that plus to a check, and that means you're following me because I scope about writing every day. So, sorry, that was a little detour. Let's get back into it. So people talk about how important it is to get motivated to write. But my challenge for you is once you get that motivation, once you have that like energetic urge, like, yes, I'm ready to write, I know what I want to write about, I'm so excited, and then you sit down, how do you protect that energy so that it doesn't just fly out the window with the dozen thoughts that are bound to come into your head while you're writing? So there are a couple things that you can do to protect that. One, schedule writing time into your calendar. And this is just actually a process of training your brain to anticipate being motivated. It's really strange and it feels kind of forced at first, but if you block out 30 or 45 minutes, really even 25 minutes, like that would be my bare minimum. Block out 25 minutes where you can do some writing, and your brain will start to anticipate that time of day, and it's like the motivation will slowly start to appear at that scheduled time. It's very bizarre. It has something to do with the human brain that I'm not qualified to talk about, but it works. It works even for people who are very scattered and not very disciplined. But if you can teach your brain to say, you know what, I write in the mornings, or I write in the afternoons, or I write in the evenings, it's almost like it stores up those subconscious ideas and releases them at that time. So having that scheduled time is really good. That scheduled time also makes it possible for you to do these other tips I'm about to share. Hey Courtney, when I'm writing, an ant crawling on the ground is highly entertaining. Isn't that true? You're welcome. I know, just before this scope, I was battling a mosquito, which in Houston we battle mosquitoes a lot, but I was like, trying to get the mosquito, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I am scoping about, is not getting distracted by stupid stuff like a mosquito. or ants. Okay, so having that scheduled time makes it possible for you to do these other things, which is 10 minutes before, start getting prepped. So let's say you're like, okay, I'm going to start writing from like 10:30 to 11, because it's this weird middle morning time where I have a dead zone. So I'm going to start writing around 10:30. 10:20, start getting everything prepped. Get your water, get your coffee, get your snack, use the bathroom, put your phone on Do Not Disturb, like get your physical space set so that when 10:30 hits, you are ready, because you want to be prepared. If you have kids, I don't know if you can hear mine in the background. They're with my nanny right now, who is amazing. But if you have kids, make sure that they're going to be fully occupied. So whether that might mean having like a groundwork conversation with your spouse or with your babysitter or your sister or whoever is watching the kids, but just say, hey, I'm about to start writing. Can you just make sure the kids don't bust in and ask me a million questions? That may not be a concern for everyone. Or your dog. I don't know. Dogs can be really needy. Just make sure that your dependents are kind of occupied by someone else for the time being. TV halfway counts, but not really. Get a person to watch them and help them with their needs. So make sure that this time is without interruption. And then quiet your space. Literally make sure that it is peaceful and quiet, and the ambient noise is like pleasing to you. So how I do this, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, I close my web browser, I also turn on my house AC fan, because we have my office is right next to our AC unit, and when it's on, it's so much loud white noise that I can't even hear the kids. So that's a little trick that I've learned. So find ways to make the space, like the sound of the space, like really conducive to your thoughts, because our ears are so good at picking up, random noises and being distracted. And even if you don't, so let's say I hear my kid yelling in the background, even if I don't leave the room to go see what's going on, just by hearing it and letting my attention go that way, I actually lose a little bit of momentum. So I want to try to maintain my motivation and momentum as much as possible. And then my other trick is to use a timer for 25 minutes. So if you've been on my scopes before, you know this is true. And I want to ask you if you're doing it. Is anyone who's been on my scopes, have you started using a timer? Pointed question. Courtney, anyone else in here who's been on my scopes before? Are you using a timer, yes or no? Because it will seriously change your life. Seriously. Even if you only have one 25-minute chunk for writing, and you set one timer for 25 minutes and you write for, from start time to end time, you'll be so much more focused in that 25 minutes that it's completely worth it. You can get more done in a focused 25 minutes of writing than you can in a 90 minutes of writing while checking email and Facebook and, watching the ants on the ground, right? So, really and truly, you may have heard this advice before, but if you're not implementing it, I want you to use a timer today, because it will change your life. So those are my main points for you guys today. That it's good to be really intentional. Hello, Ron. It's good to be intentional. So don't just, even though we're all really hoping that the motivation to write will show up, hello, we're hoping the motivation will show up, but we need to be really intentional about creating space, protected space for that motivation, so that when it does show up, and hopefully it shows up during our writing time that we schedule, that we use it wisely, because that's one of our key resources as writers, is that sort of I almost want to say divine inspiration. And I don't want to totally get into that right now, but there are these moments where thoughts appear that are not, they really don't feel like they're from us. They're from somewhere else. And so when we're given those, what do we do with those thoughts? Do we sit down and then suddenly we're distracted by, oh, my coffee's cold and there's a mosquito in the room? Yeah, usually we are, and we're human, and that's okay. But in order to be, I would even say good stewards of this inspiration and motivation, we need to be intentional about honoring that motivation and creating space for it so that we can be kind of like committed to it. So I hope that makes sense. Do you guys have any other questions or thoughts? Thanks for the hearts, guys. Questions or thoughts about distractions and keeping your motivation up? I'd be happy to answer some questions. I have a couple more minutes. But if you're new to the scope, I scope every day about writing motivation. Hi Pam, welcome. I scope every day about writing and motivation and tools and just tips and editing and things like that. I'm a writing coach and an editor, and I run my business and my blog out of paperravenbooks.com. And I help you write your book from initial idea to first draft to finished manuscript. Ron, do you write during a vacation? Good question. I decide beforehand. So I don't just bring my stuff with me on vacation and say, if I feel like writing, I'll write. I decide beforehand if it's sort of an unplugged vacation or a plugged-in vacation, and figure out how much I really want to write during that time. So, for instance, during May of this, right before the summer, my husband and I took the kids to Belize for a couple weeks, and I knew that I would be finishing up my book at that point. Like, I had the date with my editor already set, because editors work with other editors. You can't edit your own stuff. It's like being a doctor. You can't operate on yourself. So I had my editor ready to operate on my manuscript, and that date was going to be right in the middle of our trip. And so I just, was like, told my husband, like, thanks for sharing. This is going to be kind of a quasi-working vacation, if you're okay. Great diving. Yes, Pam. Belize is awesome for diving, but we were with 3 small children under the age of 6, so we did not do any diving. But the jungle was super fun. So I had like a game plan with my husband, and I was like, if you don't mind, like, these are kind of the hours I think I'm going to need for the writing, and it'd be on you to be with the kids, which he was okay with because he works really long hours and he doesn't get to see the kids a lot anyway. So he was like, that's fine, we'll go down to the beach, she'll be good. So we kind of had that plan set ahead of time. What I find, if I don't set it ahead of time, I feel really guilty, like, I'm like, I have all this free time, I'll bring my laptop, I'm sure I'll get some writing done. And then 3 days into the vacation, I have done 0. And I'm suddenly like, all this wasted free time. And then the guilt kind of sets in. And Ron, I don't know if you caught yesterday's scope, but yesterday was all about guilt and how feeling guilty about not writing does not serve us well. It does not help us to do more writing. In fact, when you feel guilty about not writing, you still don't want to do writing. You just feel guilty. And so we kind of talked about how to reframe that. But it's just something I really set intentionally. That's you, Ron. Yeah, I know. Because it feels like wasted time, but I'm slowly learning to kind of reframe it. And it's like some vacations are working vacations where I'm going to make sure that there is someone to take care of the kids while I work. Because honestly, the kids, I've come to accept this as a mom entrepreneur. I don't like the term mompreneur, but it is somewhat applicable. The kids are my responsibility. So if I need to work, I've got to have my nanny. If my nanny isn't there because we're on vacation, it's got to be my husband. Or when I go to visit my parents, I have a sitter at my parents' house. In my hometown, I have someone who I call and I say, I'm coming to visit my parents for the week, and can you be there from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday while I'm there? And that's just something I've had to do. And so those are times when I decide ahead of time, like, it's going to be working vacation, and I'm going to arrange for that work to happen, my writing and business and all that stuff. So that was a really long answer, and that dove into being a mom and an entrepreneur. But all of me being a writer and a mom and an entrepreneur are all sort of mixed together for me. And so you kind of have to look at your responsibilities in life and decide, delineate your own boundaries and say, this is when I'm a writer and this is when I'm not. And it's okay for you to take vacations and not be a writer. That's fine. You're still going to get inspiration. Bring a notebook, just in case. But don't feel guilty about it, Guilt does not serve any of us. We do our best work when we're inspired and energetic and looking positively toward the future. But feelings of guilt and negativity and cynicism just totally drag us down, and we'll never do our best work in that mind space. That's my thought. So anybody else, y'all have some opinions? How do you deal with distractions? Do you listen to music or do you not listen to music? This is my eternal question. Do I like listening to music when I write, or do I not like listening to music? Let me know. I can always tell when I've been talking a lot, because I need water. Or, if you do listen to music, what's your favorite music to listen to? It's raining outside right now. That's my favorite space for music, for instrumental and movie scores. Ooh, that's a good one. What do you think a book would be like if you were listening to the Indiana Jones movie score while you were writing? Sometimes music helps you focus. Yeah, that's true. Kind of gives your ears something to listen to, and you can anticipate it, and it's like, you know that it's coming. Pam says, you're always plotting in your head on vacation. You like white noise. Yeah, that's true. Your mind is always writing. It's always writing. You have to be careful. Be careful about which movie score you listen to. Star Wars is a select movie score to listen to. Not all the time, not always appropriate. Yeah, that's true. I mean, your mind is always thinking about writing. You can't really help it. Sometimes you need silence too. Yeah, I'm finding I'm a silence kind of person, but I'm also finding that, I don't know if you can hear in the background, but silence is really hard to come by in my house. Like, maybe I should get an office space. That's okay. I'm good with it. I'm glad that I'm in a situation where I can be close to my kids while working. It's good. It's all good. Alrighty, guys. Well, last week we talked all about writing tools and geeked out on Google Docs and Scrivener. Pandora doesn't let you select the movie genre. Oh, that's a good point. I wonder if Spotify does. That would be a good thing to investigate. Amazon Prime. I don't know if you're a member of Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime has playlists that they've pre-done. I don't know if I bet there's a movie one. There's got to be a movie one. Might look into that. That could be a whole other scope. Music you listen to and where to go. So last week we geeked out on writing tools, Google Docs and Scrivener, and some apps and stuff. So you can go over to paperravenbooks.com/periscope and catch last week's tools scopes. This week we're all about motivation. So tomorrow we're talking about... Oh, thanks, Ron. Yep, no problem. See you later. Tomorrow we're talking about habits, writing habits. And it's coming right off of my my webinar. So you guys are going to get the post-webinar thoughts about habits. So let me give you the address real quick to sign up for the webinar. It is 5 essential habits that successful authors have. So these are all the best writing habits that you can implement to make sure that you are staying motivated throughout your writing and actually finishing stuff and getting those manuscripts done and shipped. So if you find yourself struggling with procrastination and not finishing and putting the end on the manuscript and shipping it off, tune in tomorrow to this webinar, and we're talking about the 5 essential habits that all successful authors have. And let me give you that address. It is, come on, focus. paperravenbooks.com/5habits. That's where you can register for tomorrow's webinar. And if you want to catch scope notes, paperravenbooks.com/periscope. And tomorrow we'll be doing sort of a post-webinar thoughts on habits and stuff like that. So looking forward to it, guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Make sure to hit Perry Buddy down there to follow in case you haven't already. And catch me on Twitter @MorganGMac. I'd love to connect with you guys. I think Periscope is a really awesome place for writers to connect and support each other and reach new audiences. And so I'm trying to connect with everyone on Periscope who scopes about writing or just likes to listen to scopes about writing. So connect with me on Twitter and we'll get everyone in a really cool supportive group. And we use hashtag Periscope Writers to try to find each other and search for scopes that are about writing. So, alrighty guys. Yep, bye. Thank you.